What is going on, baseball fans, and welcome back to the channel. This is Orioles Today, and as always, I am Sean Ferguson. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode here on the channel. And if you are a fan of today's episode, please give that like button a high five. And if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in to the channel today, and it is still wait and see. We are just waiting and hoping and wishing that the Orioles will still find a way to go out and sign one of those two remaining top free agent starting pitchers in Ranger Suarez or Framber Valdez. The rumors, the stories, the reports, they are still all out there, but we again just are waiting and seeing for that to all happen. And in the meantime, there are some other moves that many Orioles fans continue to talk about. I know I've talked about it a few times on this channel as well, and it continues to come up with the Cody Bellinger news of the Yankees and Bellinger not right now being able to agree on a contract. So I kind of wanted to talk about our center field predicament, I should say, that we're in, because we'll get into some of your guys' comments from this past episode. And I know a few of them are about Bellinger and a few about the center field position as a whole. And I want to go ahead and address that a little bit now because we've talked so much about the starting pitching, which, again, it just has to be inevitable that the Orioles go out there and make a deal for someone, whether it be one of the top remaining free agents or are they going to look to do it in lieu of a trade. We'll see. But right now we can look at center field because it looks like it is going to be Colton Cowser out there in center field with Taylor Ward in left, and then Dylan Beavers and Tyler O'Neill out there in right field. I would expect Jeremiah Jackson to play a role out in center field with Cowser this year as well. No idea when and if Enrique Bradfield Jr. is going to get the call up to the big leagues to play some center field for Baltimore as well. I think he's going to be someone that the Orioles rely on down the road. I think he's going to be a great fit in center field, but he just needs to continue to develop his bat some more. But his defense and his speed are there, and that's exactly what the Orioles want, but he just needs to improve that bat a little bit more. So as we sit right now, it does appear that Colton Cowser is going to be the guy in center field, and I've had a lot of questions on this channel of why. Why is that the case? Why is Cowser the guy out there in center field? And he, again, had a very nice 2024. He showed a lot of potential, a lot of pop off that bat. Last year was not it for him. He dealt with injury throughout the year, and even when he was healthy, he just did not look great, did not have a great season, and they're hopeful for a bounce back. And he's not the only one that the Orioles are hoping for a bounce back, healthy season, and he's still young, and he still has a lot of potential, and that's a guy that the Orioles have brought up themselves through their farm system, so they're very hopeful that they can continue to develop him, and he could be that center fielder that they need out there. And a lot of questions, too, about his health, but who else can you put out there? And again, right now, I like Jeremiah Jackson. I like Tavares as well. If they should right now, as it stands with this roster, make the 26-man. And again, we'll see also what happens in spring training. But if they decide to make a move, and possibly right now with who is still available out there in the free agent market, could they go out and get to put in center field possibly with Cowser, or put them there and have Cowser kind of not be your everyday center fielder, but be your depth center fielder there for likes of a Harrison Bader. He is a guy that I've talked about on this channel before. I kind of backed off the talks a little bit after the acquisitions of Ward and Alonso. But as we continue to look at how this roster is shaping out, it would not be a bad idea to possibly take a look at a guy that would be a good fit and also a financially affordable fit as well. And we'll get it to Cody Bellinger in a little bit. And I know I said on yesterday's episode that it made way more sense to focus on needs right now, which is pitching, starting pitching, and you could also add another bullpen arm there. And it might sound like I'm contradicting myself here, but the route that I'm saying go is I love Harrison Bader's potential in the season that he's coming off of, and I believe that if you still want to hold on to Colton Cowser, you can put Bader out there in center field as well and be a guy that you can play Harrison Bader more, but also still have Colton Cowser on your roster, because health always comes into concerns, especially after the season that the Orioles had last season with that. So you can have both of those guys there. And right now, the projection for Harrison Bader on a contract is just 2 years and $25 million. And compared to a lot of the other guys that are out on the market right now, I really feel like that's an absolute steal. So why not take a chance on a guy like that? Because it won't financially bury you, and you'll only be committing to 2 years. Again, and I say only, but only $25 million, 12 and a half a year. And with where the Orioles are right now financially with their ownership, I think that, again, would be a steal. And I absolutely think it's something they should consider. Harrison Bader, again, coming off a good season this past year, and he is a guy that would not only add depth, but I think he would play well with how young he is with Cowser out there in center. I think that'd be a great duo out there. So I absolutely think the Orioles should consider it. And there's other teams that are also interested in him. I've seen the Pirates name thrown out there as well. And there's going to be a team is going to be willing to sign him to that deal. And I'm really surprised that he is still out there. But I think the Orioles should consider it. And another guy that is really been brought up a lot more when it comes to the Orioles, which is Cody Bellinger, that they could put out there in center field. Now, if you go out and snag a Cody Bellinger, it's not going to be a deal where he's going to share time with Cowser out there in center like possibly Harrison Bader could. He's going to be a guy that's going to own center field, and Cowser's going to play every now and then unless you move Cowser elsewhere. And the thing with Bellinger is a lot of people want to sign him to a short-term deal. Would Bellinger sign a short-term deal? And right now it doesn't look like he would. Now, if you can go out and get him on a short-term deal, maybe, but the deal that you're looking for, even if you sign him to a 1-2 year deal, it's going to be astronomical, the amount of money you would have to pay him even for those couple of years. And all reports right now are Bellinger wants a long-term deal around 7 years, and that's a big reason why the Yankees have not made a deal with him yet, because of how long of a contract that he wants. And the Yankees want to be around the 4 to 5 year mark, and Bellinger wants to be around 7. Again, he wants it long-term. So the chances of the Orioles trying to snag him on a 1 to 2 year deal doesn't seem realistic at this point in time. Now, anything can happen if no team out there right now wants to give him the 7 year deal that he really wants. So if the Orioles swoop in and say, we'll give you this much money for 1 to 2, that could happen. But right now, as it stands, I just don't see it. I see it way more likely that the Orioles being able to go out there and get a Harrison Bader on a 2 year deal around $25 million rather than Cody Bellinger on a 1 to 2 year deal for $35 to $40 million a year for those 2 years. But it is still something to think about, the potential of the Orioles, yes, upgrading in the center field after you see what they have in left and right. And if they are right now set on sticking with Colton Cowser out there in center field, would they add someone to help him just because of depth and because of health concerns? And if he does go out with health issues, are you happy with how reliable the backup is going to be there? And something I wanted to talk about that was brought up a couple of days ago, and that was an interview Rob Manfred had, the commish, and he talked about some things that he wanted to accomplish in the big leagues before he retired when his contract comes to an end in 2029. And one of the things that he brought up was expansion, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on a little bit, what he talked about. And I really wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were. Please let me know down in the comments. And again, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Harrison Bader, the potential of his contract, and how would you feel with him coming over to Baltimore. And the same thing with Cody Bellinger, if you think we would be able to sign him on a short-term deal, or if we should just shell out the money and get him a long-term, or just stay away from him completely and focus on pitching. And I would love to know what you guys think about this as well. Right now, Manfred is talking about expansion and kind of adapting to what the NBA and the NHL have done. And what that means is Manfred wants to add 2 more teams to the big leagues, 2 more expansion teams. And the MLB hasn't had an expansion team since 1997 when they brought in the Diamondbacks and the Rays. And right now we sit at 30 teams. He wants to bring it up to 32. And something he talked about was going from where we currently sit at 6 5-division teams with the 30 teams in the league, and he wants to bump it up to 32 teams and have 8 4-team divisions. And the way that he wants to do it is to where it will make geographical sense and do kind of like the NBA has and the NHL have an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference. So you would get rid of the American League and the National League. You wouldn't have East Coast teams on the West Coast and vice versa. And he also would like to align the divisions within the conferences, again, to make more geographical sense and have teams closer together. So it could be the Orioles being in a division with the Nationals and the Phillies and the Pirates, just because they would be close to each other. And then you could see some teams in Florida and Georgia being close to each other. And one thing he did mention was that he wouldn't want two teams in the same city in the same division. So he wouldn't want the Yankees and Mets in the same division. He wouldn't want the Angels and the Dodgers in the same division. That's one thing he would talk about. And he's talking about a lot of this because it will alleviate a lot of things for the players who already have to play a lot of games in a single season. And that would help a lot with travel and a wear and tear on them. And just, yes, you're playing the games, but all of that travel every single day, that's a lot on them as well. And it would also help them with health and safety. And I think just putting it all out on paper right now, like all out on the table, it sounds like a really cool idea. There's a lot that it sounds that would have to go into it, but to kind of break it down, and I like the way that the NBA and the NHL kind of have it broken down. And I think when it comes to baseball, it's just a lot more of tradition and where we sit with that. So I think it could possibly rub a lot of people the wrong way. But when it comes to seeing your favorite team play a lot more games even on the road closer to home, I think that'd be a really cool idea. And I think it would take some time to get used to, but I think over time that people will really come to enjoy that. And we'll see if Manfred's able to accomplish that. Again, he only has 3 years until his contract is up, and he wants to retire when his contract is up in 2029. So we'll see if that is something he is able to accomplish, and we will see what else comes of that in the next couple of years. But a cool idea. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And speaking of comments, I want to look at your comments from this past episode. I apologize if I am mispronouncing any of these names. Wanted to start off with this one from Julian Taylor. We keep saying Cowser in the center. Who is his backup? Cowser is an injury prone. Yeah, and that's something I was talking about on this episode too. So right now it's looking like a Tavares or a Jeremiah Jackson that they would have out there as a potential backup to Cowser. And again, that goes also into the question that I ask is how happy are you with that? You know, how comfortable are you with having one of those two guys out there replacing Cowser if he is out for a long period of time? So that could go into the potential of signing someone else to improve that position and add that added depth there as well. This one from Matheos. O's should still try to make trades for both Alcantara and Gore. I don't see them being able to acquire both of them in a trade, but one of those guys, yes, absolutely. I talked about them very, very early on in this channel's existence about both of those guys, and Alcantara is a guy who's kind of gone on the wayside, and you haven't heard a lot about him when it comes to being traded somewhere. Mackenzie Gore is a guy that was talked about a lot, and his trade rumors have really quieted down. And I think that was because the Nationals decided they really just want to keep him put, and the Orioles apparently right around winter meetings time were kicking the tires on him apparently, but I'm guessing that it would be a whole lot to go get him. If you saw what was needed to give away to acquire Edward Cabrera from the Marlins, I think it would be so much more to get a guy like Gore. This one from Dano. If we are truly going for it this year, why not sign Bellinger on a 1-year deal to play center field? Stay status quo on current pitching and reevaluate pitching at the deadline. Our extra outfielders would be O'Neill and Beavers. Yeah, and it's tough when you think about it, because with where starting pitching is and how much they've said that they need to, and when I say they, I mean Mike Elias, who's been the mouthpiece of this, so they know that's the area where they need to improve the most. And yes, they got Shane Baz, and yes, they re-signed Zach Eflin, and you love Rogers and Bradish up there. Just with how devastated by injury the Orioles were last season, it makes it really tough to think that they're just going to stop there. You really think that they're going to add either a Suarez or a Valdez, especially with all the rumors of us being linked to them still to this day and as of this recording. So, and that also goes into, I just don't see Bellinger signing a 1-year deal. I mean, if all these other teams say, we're not giving you a 7-year deal, we know that's what you want, but we're not giving it to you, I still don't see him going, you know what, I'll take a 1-year deal. I just don't see it happening, even if we make that 1 year just astronomical with the amount of money we would give him. So I just don't see that happening with Bellinger on a short-term deal. And I don't see with where Tyler O'Neill's contract is, the Orioles making him an extra player. And with how well Dylan Beavers is progressing, I don't see them making him extra either. And this is going to be the last one for today's episode. This one is also from David Tract. I don't think Brewers do this, but just for fun, a Mountie, Kramer, and Cowser, Kershad, and lower-level prospect. B, Mountie, Povich, 2 higher-end prospects. Remember that if we sign Suarez, Valdez, or Gallen, we are also giving up essentially a first-round pick in addition to the big money in years. It is definitely going to be one of those top 3. I take Gallen if he'll take a 3 to 4 year with opt-out option. That way, if he bombs, the contract can be gone before Gunnar is a free agent. Don't think the other 2 will take anything under a 5-year at minimum. And yeah, I think this got broken up in 2 for David there, but when it comes to the Brewers, I know that's what you're talking about is with Freddie Peralta. So A would be Mountie, Kramer, Cowser, Kershad, a lower level prospect, or Mountie, Povich, 2 higher end prospects. And I think B would make more sense. You wouldn't be giving up as much for guys that are currently on the roster. And again, I think if you add Povich and Mountcastle together with 2 higher end prospects, I think that looks way more appealing to the Brewers, who've already said they want a starter in return for Peralta. And then going to your final point here again, remember that if we sign Suarez, Valdez, or Gallen, we are also giving up essentially a first round pick in addition to the big money and years. If he is definitely going to be one of those top 3, I take Gallen if he'll take a 3 to 4 year with opt-out option. That way, if he bombs, the contract can be gone before Gunner's a free agent. Don't think the other 2 will take anything under 5. Yeah, and I talked about this too, is why I think that this is what's kind of holding up some of these contracts is the years. A lot of these guys want long-term deals. Bellinger wants it. I'm sure Tucker wants it. Suarez, Valdez, they want it. They want that one last big-time deal before they retire. They're in their early 30s. They want that deal. So, I get it from their standpoint, but I do think that is what is holding up these deals. So we'll see. Yes, with those guys that had to decline their options, you will be signing them to a lot of money, long-term deal, and you're also going to have to give up a pick for them as well. So that's a lot to consider. It is a lot to consider, but I feel like at this point in time where this roster sits, I feel like it's worth it. And I feel like a lot of you guys agree with me on that. But please let me know down in the comments what you guys think about that. What do you think more about kind of what we talked about here in this last comment from David Tract? Do you think it's worth it giving up as much to go get a Freddie Peralta? And how do you still feel about going 5 to 7 years for guys like Suarez, Valdez, or even a Gallen because of just their age and the potential of those last couple of years of that contract? But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. It really means a lot. And if you were a fan of today's episode, please give that like button a high five. And if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. But thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. This is Orioles Today. I am Sean Ferguson, and let's go O's.